Kaz, you mentioned during your top five segment that the Ravens were still a top five team in your book, and the Browns loss did not matter to you. So go ahead and let us know why that game did not matter to you. The Cleveland Browns beat the Baltimore Ravens 29-24 in Cleveland. Toddy, I'm going to swing it to you next. I'm going to take Blue to the restroom, so you guys take on.
Yeah, before I go, one of my guys in my chat, my boy, it says illegal shift is terrible. NFL refs need to chill out on that. I agree with that. I saw your tweet about that too the other day. So obviously the Browns beat the Ravens. And the reason why I don't have it up right now, but the reason why that game didn't matter to me is because without looking at the exact games, we all know there's been a handful of games this year where teams that shouldn't have won have beaten teams that are much better than them. It just is what it is. Okay. We've seen it with San Fran. I think it was San Fran and who was it? Arizona, right?
It happened to us twice. We lost to the Cardinals
and
the Rams.
Yeah. And it's nothing against both those teams because the Cardinals are right now leading in the division, if I'm not mistaken. And the Rams, they were injury ridden, but you guys had the much better team. Lost after being heavily favored. You got who else was it? You got Dallas early on the at home against Seattle, just getting absolutely dog walked. We had another one. You had even games like who was it I'm thinking about? God dang it. I can't think of it right now, but there's just been a handful of games where great teams are losing to very, very, very bad teams. Not competitive teams, very, very, very bad teams. So when I see that happen, I'm like, it is what it is. It's going to happen to every good team in the league this year. It just so happened that this week was the Ravens' time to lose a stinker. Plenty of drop picks, plenty of drop, big drop catch or drop pass by Rashad Bateman in crunch time. Lamar's doing everything. Lamar's literally doing everything. He can't help these guys are dropping balls, hitting them right in the helmet, right in the breadbasket. And not just once, probably not even twice, but I guarantee you probably 3 or 4 times this game. Can't do nothing about that. You don't run the ball enough with Derrick Henry. And even when you do run the ball with Derrick Henry, it's like the Browns, we all know the Browns have a good, defensive front. I mean, let's not act like the Browns just lost everything just because they got Deshaun Watson and they're terrible. And he's playing worse than what he did the first year he was there. Okay. They still got Myles Garrett on that line who's going to bring pressure over and over and over again. And Lamar Jackson, being the quarterback that he is, he handled that well. But the Ravens just could not execute. You got Kyle Hamilton dropping literally wide open interceptions to seal the game. I believe Marlon Humphreys went out this game, I believe. I'm not mistaken. Did he? I know he went out
third quarter.
Yeah, he went out this game. I believe that either him or someone else had an opportunity for a pick. It was there. Jameis Winston did not look good, but you know what? It's just like a guy like what's his name? Fitzpatrick. When you give guys opportunity to throw the ball a lot, eventually something's going to come together at some point. It might be a couple interceptions. It might be, quite a few incomplete passes, but all it takes is one. And we definitely saw that at the end of the game, which is what sealed it, was a game-winning touchdown pass. So you look at that game and you look at the Ravens and you go, are you guys a team that, are you guys actually not as good as you look? Well, no, because they have been rolling teams, which is why I have them not only in my top 5, but at number 2. And that's why I don't have Philadelphia in there. As much as I love my Eagles, I'm not seeing us roll teams the way that I see the Baltimore Ravens, control and handle games. There's a big difference in the way that they're winning. Big difference. They lose to the Browns, big whoop, move on. Again, this is going to happen to every team in the league this year. Every good team. It's going to happen to Detroit if it hasn't happened already. It happened to Minnesota on Thursday night. Who had the Rams beating the Vikings? Who? I believe the week before that, the Vikings played Detroit, I think it was, and it was a good-ass game. Came down to the wire, if I'm not mistaken. Really good game.
By 1 point.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And then they go and they see the Rams. They get Puka Nacua back and Cooper Kupp back. Well, Cooper Kupp came back the last game too, but they get Puka Nacua back, and then he immediately goes off for 100 yards. Nobody saw that coming. Not one person. So these things just happen, and it is what it is. And it's going to, again, give it some time. Give it a week or two. I'd say maybe 3 weeks. It's going to happen to the Chiefs. The Chiefs will end up being favored by 7.5 points and lose the game by probably 10 or 12, something like that. So that's why, I'm not sure if you were listening, Kevin, but that's why I don't really look at the Ravens loss as a big deal. Now, if that continues on and they lose another game to an opponent that they had no business losing to, then we can have that talk. But once the Browns, after all the hiccups, I mean, they were constantly shooting themselves in the foot to lose this game. That's what it took for them to lose this game. Not what the Browns did. If the Ravens did it all to themselves. It's like, we all played sports. Okay, you guys are big basketball fans. Have you guys seen your favorite basketball player go out there and just shoot 0 for whatever one game? And it's like the game before, you shot 90% from the field. You went off for 45 points, and now you're gonna go out there and put up 10 points. You know what I'm saying? Shooting 3 for 16 or something crazy like that. These things happen, guys. Let's not look at this loss from the Browns as this big deal, because it's not a big deal. It's far from it. It would be a bigger deal if the Browns were solid and the Bengals were true competitors right now. Right now, it's between the Steelers and the Ravens. Anybody worry about the Bengals? Anybody worry about the Browns? The Browns got them. Woo, big division lost. It ain't going to matter when it comes down to the wire. So Ravens look past this. I'm already looking past it. If I was a Ravens fan, I wouldn't even care about this loss. I really wouldn't.
All right, Toddy. What were your thoughts on Jameis Winston's first game in 685 days beating what everyone thinks is going to be the 3-time MVP Lamar Jackson?
I think we got to put some respect on our guy, Jay Boo. I think the way how this offense has literally changed overnight. Deshaun Watson he pops his Achilles. They don't have a 300-yard passer, and however long it was yesterday, Jameis Winston comes in and he throws for 300 yards. He's a guy that is obviously going to be a gunslinger. He throws picks. I think we all can remember the Tampa Bay interview, the closing interview, when he said, "I'm balling." We all know I threw for 30 touchdowns, but he also threw for 30 picks. So we know what Jameis is definitely capable of. And him quoting Eminem at the end of the game was just match made in heaven. As for the Ravens, I think we all can agree that we all can say confidently that the Ravens are probably going to make another deep playoff run. Obviously, they slipped up yesterday. That could be due to lack of film. Obviously, Jameis has not played in a while, so it was kind of weird to gauge on how he was going to play. But the Ravens had too many chances to win this game. As Kaz mentioned earlier, the dropped interception by Kyle Hamilton. I mean, Jameis was trying to throw picks yesterday. He was attempting to. They were just he was throwing them in stride, and these guys were dropping them. So Lamar was a guy that was coming in, putting the team on his back. He is my fantasy quarterback. He's a guy who's been playing at an MVP caliber again. But it's been kind of weird for the Ravens because they'll blow these other teams up, but they'll lose to teams like the Browns and the Raiders. So these are things I wouldn't say there's something you got to watch out for, because it's like they can get caught slipping at any other time. Like Kaz mentioned, there's been a bunch of teams that have no business winning games. They'll come out and win and come out on top with the victory. So the Ravens, I think I still have them in my top 5. I think we all still do. They're going to, or except for Kevin, I think we all can agree that the Ravens will probably bounce back next week. They're not in first place anymore because they obviously dropped that game. It was a divisional game. So if they were to drop a weird game, I would have thought that would have been in division, because this division is one of the toughest in football in past years. So the Browns are always going to be feisty. The Steelers are really good. The Bengals, we can argue about how good the Bengals are. But I mean, the Ravens are one of those teams that we can confidently say that I think they're going to still make a deep playoff run when it comes playoff time.
I don't know, guys. I don't know. You guys tell me last time you heard the name Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, Elijah Moore.
Hey, those a couple years ago, you know what I'm saying? We was talking about Jeudy.
Couple years ago. That's
a first round draft pick.
Sunday. These guys are making plays. Jameis Winston coming right off the bench. We ain't got no decals on our helmet. 334, 3 touchdowns. The Baltimore Ravens came out and stunk the bed up. You cannot lose a game like this. For us, for everyone, like Toddy mentioned, we all expect them to take a deep playoff push, and you're losing to Jameis Winston. Toddy's talking about because there's no film. It's Jameis Winston. It's the Cleveland Browns. A week ago, they had a different quarterback. We thought Cleveland was the place toys going to die. Now you insert Jameis Winston, and they're winning games. They were 1-6 going into that game. Like Toddy mentioned, favored by 8 points, and you lose that game. Yes. Did the Ravens make the plays they needed to make? No. Rashad Bateman dropped that big one. They couldn't get it going. I mentioned in the beginning of the game, when you can't have Derrick Henry, who averages 6.5 yards per carry, running the ball 11 times. That's not okay. We would say the same thing for a CMC, a Saquon Barkley. For any of those top guys, 11 carries just isn't going to do it. Especially when, like I mentioned, 6.5 yards per carry leads the NFL. Why would you not do that? We've seen Lamar in the last AFC Championship game be forced to become a thrower. And I'm not saying he can't throw, but when you have the weapons that you have around him, they're not going to be very successful. We've seen Mark Andrews be very up and down. Same with Rashad Bateman. The only consistent guy has been Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry. So when you don't have a lot of options like that, you really have to rely on your run game. And telling Lamar to go play hero ball gets you some games. But some games is not going to get you in. You got to be able to rely on your defense. And like I said, Cedric Tillman shouldn't really do that to anyone's defense. So moving